Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 43 of 5 Reasons Not to Harm Your Loved Ones During Quarantine. As you can see, it is a gorgeous day, so we should all be smiling and get outside and enjoy our day a little bit. I'm going to talk about virtual parenting time today. It seems to be coming up quite regularly now that some people have been doing it since this all started. But before we get there, I have our usual COVID-19 statistics and a little update. There are 54,365 cases, and that's up 202. And there are 5,223 deaths, which is up 12. As of 3 days ago, there is a change in reporting. Before, all of our confirmed cases were lumped together, whether it was confirmed through a diagnostic test, which is the test that they give if you're showing symptoms to them that you have it. And then there's serological test, which is the test where they can determine if you have the antibody or not. And until just a few days ago, last Friday, these were all lumped in that one number of confirmed cases. Now they're separating them out, and just to give you some, grasp on the numbers here, 450,918 diagnostic tests have been given in Michigan. 60,000 serology tests have been given in Michigan, but that's only in the last 9 days. So just huge numbers. And remember that because you have the antibody doesn't mean that you're immune. It just means that you have had the virus. And a lot of people we're learning have the virus and don't know. So that's the COVID-19 update. It's a little short today. I do have court at 1:30 virtually by Zoom. So I just wanted to get to our matters at hand. I do have a favor to ask all of you, though. We are on our Facebook page. There's a link to our YouTube page, and we are like 12 away from 100 subscribers on the Kirsch Daskas YouTube page. As soon as to 100 subscribers, we get our own URL, which is going to be a great thing, and we're super excited, but we're 12 subscribers away. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the YouTube channel, and if you really want to be a superhero and put our favor for asking people to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be amazing. And thank you, thank you, thank you. The other thing is if you could like the Facebook page, because we seem to have a lot of people who tune in that have not liked the page. So you're missing out on some of the extra materials that we post. For example, last week we posted something about distance learning for special ed students. We posted the guidelines for employers to reopen and business owners to reopen. So sometimes there's supplemental materials that we put on the Facebook page and on the website. As far as the YouTube channel, all of these broadcasts, as well as some shorter ones and some more just a lot of information we're doing by video these days, because people just seem to be more wired in and more savvy at using technology. So with that in mind, let's talk about some virtual parenting time. Let's start with, what is it? Well, it is what it sounds like, and it's basically parenting time that's occurring by either video or audio or email or social media, or it could be anything other than in-person parenting time. And for a lot of parents have had to exercise their parenting time this way for years. One parent lives out of state or at a distance, then they've been doing parenting time by Skype or by FaceTime. But now, because of the pandemic, we have even better technology, more hands-on ways to be involved in your child's life if you're the virtual parenting parent. There's also been a whole new sweep of co-parenting recommendations where using video is better than, the traditional email or arguing phone calls. You have to remember always that the root of all parenting time is to make this great for the child, and it has to be child-centered for the most part as well. Some people often ask me, well, what am I going to talk about? My child's only 5. Well, it's really easy to find out about what 5-year-olds are doing, what they're learning. It's called Google. And you can also, there's some interactive websites that you can get on with your child, and you can play age-appropriate games. There are ways to share your screen and play. If any of you haven't discovered Jackbox, it's games you can put in as many as 8 people at a time. Very interactive. A brilliant person who obviously saw this coming from Chicago long ago created it. We've hooked in with other families during the stay-home order. It's really fun, and it's a great way to engage with other people. You can talk to them through the game as well as you're using your phone as a remote control. So it's pretty cool. The other things about virtual parenting time that I wanted to talk about is obviously it needs to be age appropriate, and what determines if it's age appropriate. Every parent would love to engage with their child for as long as they can, but really asking a 2.5 or 3-year-old to engage for more than 5 minutes just may not be realistic. So in that scenario, you may want to arrange for virtual parenting time to be, more than one time a day. Maybe you have one, sort of in the morning or at lunchtime, and then maybe you have, you read a story together at night. And as we are encouraging co-parenting, maybe you read a page and then the other parent reads a page, and you read a page, the other parent reads a page. Children are very afraid when their parents aren't together anymore that they're going to lose parents. They don't really care if there's a marriage anymore. They just want to make sure they have a mom and a dad. So this is a way to show your child that you're still the best parent you can be, and obviously continue to engage with them. I had some other, let's see if we have time. Okay, that's been really, the games have been really successful. You can work with the other parent so that they have maybe paints or crayons or markers and paper ready for the parenting time. You could do an art project. You're doing it on your side, they're doing it on their side. There's some great doodling program websites. So for example, you could say, we're going to learn how to draw a dog and a lion today. And it literally, parents, you can cheat. It tells you, first you draw this oval, and that's going to be the nose. And then you're going to draw this sort of 2 big U's, and that's going to be, where the eyes are going to go. And then it shows you, then you draw this, and that's an ear. And then you draw this, and it's an ear. And then you draw, this little half moon, and that's a paw. And it's great. And you could do it with your child, and then it would keep them engaged for more than 5 minutes, and it's a good thing to do. The other thing you can do is if your child's old enough, you could do like trivia questions. You could do Pictionary, charades with pictures. You can even, depending on how many kids there are, you could do like a family feud kind of thing. If you have, 3 kids and then, versus their mom or their dad who's on the other side of the call. And it's just fun stuff to keep kids engaged. If you have a small child, you can also do some learning things with, shapes or letters and pictures. Every dollar store, every teacher store, but really the dollar resource for this has teacher supplies. So you could go get all those cutout letters, the holidays, the months, everything that would be on the bulletin board in their classroom, and you could recreate that as your own learning environment with your child. There's some ideas about how to make visual visitation more interactive between parents and children. The other thing that we have to deal with and why people are having virtual visitation now is there's a couple different scenarios, but we have what I wanted to talk about is the situation where you have a parent who has been exposed or who is sick, and that parent can both parents have the obligation to keep their child safe and healthy. So that parent in that situation can either voluntarily give up their parenting time until they're better so their child doesn't have to see them ill, or they could do virtual parenting time, or they could do, just change the schedule. And maybe it becomes 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or something like that, instead of the switching back and forth. You must have an agreement with the other parent, whether it goes as far as to change the court order or not. You have to be on the same page with the other parent, or it's going to be an epic storm. Another thing to keep in mind to keep this positive is the supervised parenting time situation. In a supervised parenting time situation, we really need to be careful of where the other parent is and be cognizant of what is the reason for the supervision in the first place. If a child in supervised parenting time because of a drug problem, substance abuse problem, alcohol problem, or a domestic violence problem, and the supervisor is now the parent who was abused previously, that could create a problem. There is a fear in all virtual parenting time that there is going to be parental alienation, and that's the biggest risk of virtual parenting time, is that you have the non-parenting parent, because during parenting time, the visiting parent is considered parent. But you have that person who is that could be right next to your child, either telling them what to say, telling them what not to say, talking smack about the other parent. There could be, all different kinds of sabotage, unfortunately, could be going on that would disrupt the parent who's exercising the parenting time's relationship with their child. That bond must be protected. That's why all court orders must be followed in regards to parenting time, whether it be virtual or regular. In virtual parenting time, you have to keep in mind that every parent deserves uninterrupted time with their child. So you need to have a set schedule. It could be 5 times a day. But I don't think the other parent would really appreciate that or want that to happen, because that would interrupt their parenting time. So keep that in mind. that there should be a definite schedule. And everyone should be on the same page. It's not always feasible to have the amount of parenting time that you would have had if it was in-person parenting time. And you should have discussions on whether or not there's makeup parenting time that the parents are entitled to. In some cases, people are actually entering orders, changing parenting time, changing custody, those kinds of things. And in that situation, you want to make sure to protect yourself as well as whichever role you have, that it says temporary, because these are temporary times. These are definitely uncertain times. When this all first started, the Department of Health and Human Services had a, strict, no exception policy that all parenting time for children in foster care had to be virtual. There was no in-person parenting time. And it didn't matter if the child had been spending 5 or 6 days and 5 or 6 nights with their birth parents and were literally 1 minute from reunification. They had to go back to this virtual parenting time. And it's caused a lot of problems and a lot of issues, a lot of regression, and a lot more emotional strife on the kids. The parents were just angry, but the kids don't understand in most cases. And so on April 23rd, I believe it was, the policy was written, and it now defers to court orders, where the first one, it didn't matter what the court order said. So people can be contempt. They could be show caused for violating the parenting time order or the support order for that matter. But parenting seems to be a hotter topic. And with if you're found in contempt for a parenting time order, withholding it or not returning your child from parenting time, different things could happen. And another thing that happens with virtual parenting time is if you don't give your child access to the device, you don't answer the call, you don't turn on the computer, you don't turn on the internet. Those are the kinds of violations that we're seeing now in this virtual age. But I mean, you could be put in jail or pay a fine or pay the other side's attorney fees. And with the hocus pocus of all of that, what really happens is your child is just missing out on time with their other parent. And nothing good ever comes out of withholding parenting time, because you have to keep in mind that in order to withhold parenting time and to justify it, you have to articulate facts. You have to be able to say something more than the protective services told me not to send her. You have to have some proof. You cannot have suspicion. You cannot have worry. You cannot have things that are personal to you. You have to remember, this is your child's relationship with their other parent, and you're not allowed to mess with it. And those are really the main issues that we're seeing: the good, the bad, the ugly with virtual parenting time. I just wanted to quickly, before we go today, just go through with you. We already talked about how parents have to follow the custody order. If you believe that you're exposed or the other parent has been exposed, you need to talk about it. You need to figure it out. You need to talk about if it's going to be virtual, if it's going to be makeup. You have to come up with an agreement, file a motion. If you can't reach an agreement, don't just withhold, or don't just pick up you're putting your child in danger if one of the parents has been exposed or has the virus. You can agree to make up parenting time, as I said earlier. If your exchanges taking place, or the supervision was taking place at an agency that is now closed because of the governor's shutdown order, you need to be talking to your about where you're going to do those exchanges, who's going to supervise. Think about essential places. Grocery stores are open, their parking lots are open. They usually have some sort of surveillance. Police stations have special parking spaces designated for parenting time exchanges. They're also taped surveillance there. So think about where there are public places where those could take place if they can't take place at different agencies that you exist. You need to be cooperating with finding a new supervisor if it's in-person parenting time or virtual parenting time. If you had someone who worked at the agency and now their agency's closed, they may not want to help you out. One of the things that I've been doing for my clients who didn't have a supervisor and the parents couldn't agree on, you know, or someone to also be on their virtual parenting time, I kind of have a laundry list of people who are former protective services workers or foster care workers who, you know, they're now retired and they like to make a little extra money, supervised parenting time, and they'll do it virtually or in person. We also have some current foster care workers who are happy to supervise parenting time and make a little money because they're furloughed. So, you know, don't give up the chance to have your parenting time because it's virtual and you don't have a supervisor. We can work that out. The court can work that out. If you can't agree and you don't want to file a motion and wait the time to have it heard, use the mediation center at each circuit court. Has a mediation center that doesn't cost a lot of money, that can be for, you know, ways to figure out the parenting time. I don't recommend taking your major case issues there or taking them there without an attorney, but you know, it is kind of a low cost alternative if you can't work it out. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention to everyone, and this has been really the issue du jour, is, you know, whether it's virtual parenting time, in-person parenting time, whatever it is, we are approaching summer parenting time. And a lot of people thought because the kids got out of school early or because the kids were at home early, that summer parenting time should be extended, especially since they might be going back earlier in August, is one of the predictions. And if you can agree on that, that's fine. You can do it. You can change your court order by consent. However, if you can't agree, the friend of the court across the state of Michigan has said that the calendar that the court used to decide parenting time initially, which means in most jurisdictions 24 hours after the child's last day of school, is when some summer parenting time begins. That's the default, and that's what people have to do. However, that is, you know, again, you can agree and change any terms of any judgment, any parenting time order. I suggest if you're going to agree and change terms, you do a stipulated order so that the something to enforce if it doesn't as well as you planned. And so I'm just going to scroll really quickly and see if anyone has any questions. I see a lot of wonderful people watching today. So again, before we close here, if you can, please click on the link on the Facebook page that says to please do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we need 100 subscribers in order to get our URL, and we're about 12 away. And then if you could also like the page, then you'll get access to newsletters and other written policies or updates regarding the topics that we talk about. And And so I hope that you'll all get outside and enjoy this beautiful day. Don't forget to wear sunscreen and drink water. And these should be the worst that we have. So 5 reasons not to harm your loved ones during quarantine. Protective services workers are essential. Police are essential. Although there are open beds in our jails and prisons now because of the different policies and procedures in place since this started in March, it's still not as safe a place as being home to protect yourself from COVID-19. Parents can get in trouble for kids being kids is number 4, and very few, if anyone, looks good in stripes. So with that, I hope you are all home and healthy and enjoying the day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.